Okay, and we're live right now, and we've got another show underway. And once again, I've got Knight here from the NightWatch to join me. So welcome aboard, and thanks for coming on the show one more time.
Absolutely, man. It's always good talking movies, and like I said, man, you got the way to do it. So,
A second ago, the fact that we're, lucky enough to be doing this at all. So,
hmm
I guess we kind of thought it up and we did it. These are DIY operations, but sometimes that's the best way to go, rather than
that's right.
waiting around.
That's right.
S-
Absolutely.
So, okay, here we go. And here we are, an American Werewolf in New Jersey podcast. I think I caught you one more time with a movie you hadn't seen.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
So
It's gonna be a habit. You're gonna be like my Yoda
I,
for unseen movies.
I don't know about that. I think I'll probably run out of movies before that happens. But
Yep.
I'm two for two now, or 2-0
Mm,
now, or however you want to phrase it.
yep.
This movie was something. I really did think so. And in case you're not sure what we're talking about, I'm talking about 2016's. We're talking about 2016's A Dark Song, which was written and directed by this fantastic guy named Liam Gavin. It was first time effort.
hmm
So just to be able to sit down and write out a script like this, to direct something like this with just it's it's unbelievable. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
I
This
agree.
came this came along at a time about 5 years ago, of course, when IFC Midnight seemed to really be on a tear, and they were coming out with movies like The Devil's Candy. If you've seen The Devil's Candy, it's just a fantastic movie. It's playing on Hulu now. I'm gonna definitely have to cover that sometime really soon. And also, I think one of the more popular ones was The Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Yes.
So yeah, so a lot of people know The Autopsy of Jane Doe, and
hmm
I know people. I have a couple horror fans that no matter how ahead of the curve I try to get, they've seen it 6 months ago. And I'll come to them every time, like, hey, I just saw this movie and you got to see it. They're like, I saw that 6 months ago. It's really
Right.
good, though. But they,
hmm
they let me. Some people you just never get ahead of.
That's right.
So this movie, however, was something that I was very surprised that no one had seen. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. Now, you might be the only person that I talked to lots of people about it. They said they've
hmm
heard of it. They've been meaning to check it out, but just for one reason or another have never gotten around to it.
hmm
And yeah, hold on. We got some comments here. We got Eric in the house. We'll do it live. Fuck it, we'll do it live. This thing sucks. It sucks. We'll do it live.
Oh, Eric.
Okay. And we got Trenchy in the house. Hey, what's up? What's up, Trenchy?
What's up,
Thanks.
Trenchy?
Thanks for stopping in. So, I want to say this, and I should have said it before we got rolling. I know you have a show where everybody just kind of cues in, but wherever you want to jump in, just jump in. You don't wait for
Okay.
me to finish talking because that'll never fucking
Absolutely.
happen. I'll just, you'll be here till 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, and I'll still be, explaining how it's okay for you to jump in.
Right, right, right.
It's a God's truth, unfortunately, but you got to deal with the facts on the ground.
That's
Um,
right, man.
all right, so this is taking us to a different place.
hmm
And what we've got, the premise here, we've got two people that I would argue are profoundly damaged.
Yes.
You've got these two profoundly damaged people that sort of find each other, not in any sort of rom com way. You've got a woman here who hires an occultist to perform an extraordinarily dangerous ritual
Hmm.
for an idea I've never heard of before. They're actually attempting to summon an angel.
Yeah, that's where it kind of caught me off guard too, because I was like, wow, well, that's a little bit different.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's reaching about as far as I've ever heard of anybody reaching before. We've all talked about exorcism and possession movies, and
Hmm.
I did a compare and contrast on the two Omen movies. So that pretty much goes down to the bottom of the barrel. But I'd never heard of anything like that before.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right from the beginning of the movie, I was thinking, wow, this is fresh ground in a vessel that I thought was pretty well worn. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Whenever you're talking about rituals or summoning this or that, we've seen it. We've seen it 1,000 times before, and we almost kind of have an idea where it's gonna go. I'm gonna tell you what, man. I I don't know, maybe 10 minutes or whatever into this movie, I was just like, okay. And I was really gripped with what I
yeah.
was seeing.
They decided to go in the other direction.
Hmm.
They went
Yeah.
up instead of
Yes.
down.
Right.
Which somehow to me is a little more frightening.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, oh, this is okay. Yeah, this is scary
Hmm.
stuff.
Yep.
They proceed to, and this is a Welsh movie. This is set in Wales, so this is a British movie in the UK.
Hmm.
I've seen a couple of movies, and for God's sake, I can't think of them off the top of my head. A couple of these movies were the Irish, and they're making pretty decent horror within the past 5 years. And for some reason, I've blanked on all the titles. I should have written them down.
Hmm.
But there's a number of films that are coming out of this part of the world now that I think aren't getting their fair due. This
Yeah.
probably is at the top of that list.
Hmm.
Now, the ritual itself involves essentially barricading themselves in a remote house. So you've got two profoundly damaged strangers coming together,
Hmm.
essentially locking themselves inside the house. Even the ceiling of the house is an occult ritual where they can't leave. Understanding in advance that they could be inside this house anywhere from 6 to 8 months
Yeah. Yep.
attempting this ritual. So I mean, you see them, they're buying, stacks and stacks of food and supplies. And they're just going to lock themselves in this house and keep going with this ritual until something happens.
Hmm. Yeah. And that in and of itself caught me because I was like, wow, this is something that I had never seen in a movie like this,
Yeah,
basically barricading themselves.
yeah.
I mean, I was just like, wow, that's almost like another added angle in this type of movie, dealing with rituals and demons and angels and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you've got these two people, this woman hiring this man. I think she empties out her bank account, something like 80,000 pounds, like every cent she has.
Yep.
She rents this house, spending, the last pennies there, and everything else on food, because he says he can do this thing. And so you've got these heavy themes of Gnosticism, which is a term I had encountered probably about 20 years ago, which essentially my, paper thin understanding of Gnosticism basically says that this world that you and I are living in, that these characters are living in, is essentially an illusion.
Hmm.
And that there's what you might call a demiurge, or I think that's the correct pronunciation, or a demon that is essentially putting a veil over the world so you can't see, what we're seeing is actually some sort of, veiled, whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
And, you can't actually see what's happening. These people are attempting to sort of shout out into that abyss to call this angel.
Hmm.
But he makes the occultist, Mr. Solomons makes the warning very early that other things are going to hear this shouting,
Right.
and they're going to
Yep.
come and inquire as to where this, sort of noise is coming from.
Right.
It's profoundly dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, right from the beginning, I'm thinking this is going to be really really nice, and I was really impressed with how complex the little details were. Like this was, this could have been a very simple movie in the sense of she goes to this occultist, she needs help, he knows the ritual or whatever has to be done, and that whole scene could have taken, you know 15 minutes, and
Yeah,
we see some weird stuff and then it's done. but,
yeah,
but instead, like you said, they had to barricade themselves in the house. They sealed off the house so they couldn't leave. He kept saying, we cannot leave. We cannot, once we start, we can't stop. So all of a sudden, that weight is starting to come down on you as the viewer. At least it did for me. I'm like,
yeah.
oh wow, they are stuck there. And the exercises and the prep and all that type of stuff that he had her endure, they were just fantastic scenes because there was so much tension, and you're trying to, at least for me, I'm trying to figure out, is, like she was, not to give away any spoilers, but like she was trying to figure out, is this working? What's going on? And each step got more tense, and the things that she had to do, it was just crazy.
Well, what happens is, I mean, this man that is the occultist. He's not Mr. Miyagi.
Right,
He's not a nice man.
right.
He's kind of a dick, and he
Mm-hmm.
just, he lords it over her. You're going to do what I say. You're not going to ask me why. I'm going
Yep.
to tell you what to do. It's going to be like jump and how high and when can I come down? You know,
Right.
he's got
Mm-hmm.
that kind of, dynamic that he established with her,
Mm-hmm.
and he kind of, he treats her like a dog, kind of
Mm-hmm.
sort of, because
Mm-hmm.
his goal is not the same as hers.
Mm-hmm.
Once the idea is not just to summon the angel for its own sake. She's trying to. She's recently lost her son,
Mm-hmm.
and she starts off with this. There's a ongoing change throughout the story, as for the rationale as to what she wants to summon this angel for. And in the beginning, it becomes, well, I want to hear my son's voice again.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then, it just his reasoning for doing it isn't necessarily just to help her. He has requests too.
That's right.
He wants power, which is, kind of, I think, he wants to strip away, he wants to really see behind the curtain. And he
Mm-hmm.
claims he's done this once already. And for me, and he said I think he said he tried it 3 times, twice it was not successful, once it
And once it
was.
was, yep.
I'm not exactly sure he was telling the truth.
Yeah, and the movie, what I also liked about the movie is you're questioning stuff all the way through on so many levels. and
What is
and
real?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I gotta admit, man, when I finished watching the movie, I said to myself, gosh, I want to watch that again.
Hmm.
But I didn't. uh I will after we're done this episode. When I get a chance, I will, but I
Hmm.
didn't watch it again because I wanted to keep those questions and that ambiguity. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And this movie is, wow,
I, I think it was.
fantastic.
I think this is maybe the third time I had seen it.
Hmm.
And it had been at least a year and a half, and I watched it in preparation for the show here tonight.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's not one of those movies you would just pop in every week or something like that. I mean, you really just
Yeah.
want to sit down and not have any distractions.
Hmm.
It's a dialogue movie.
Yep.
I was stunned by the absence of jump scares.
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't I don't know that there is a legitimate jump scare in that whole movie. I mean, it's about at
No.
95 minutes.
Yep.
I don't know that there's actually a jump scare in it.
Yeah, I don't think
Eric
so either.
Eric's here again. He says he hasn't seen the movie yet either. Haven't heard of it until this episode. So again, so many people are just not. They're not catching this for some reason. It just didn't catch on, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel bad not just for the viewers, but for as much as you can feel bad for Liam Gavin, who wrote this amazing movie.
Yeah.
It's like one of those. It's like the best movie that nobody watched.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
agree.
remember that there was a show on Cinemax a long time ago called Banshee. And
Yes.
it was oh, I loved it. It's one of my all-time favorite shows, and it was just brutal.
Hmm.
It was just brutally violent, and I forget who it was, but it was labeled like the best show that no one ever watched. Like
Mm.
no one had heard of it. You talk
Right.
to them about it all the time, and this sort of falls into that
Yeah.
category too. Trenchy again. Hey, sounds interesting, man.
Yeah.
This is a hell of a movie. Were you able to find the episode on YouTube?
It well, it was on YouTube, although the ones that I found, there was one with the full movie. It was in a different language.
Oh
And then I
shit.
did,
Okay.
yeah, and then I did.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. And then I did find it broken up. I think it was in 2 or 3 parts broken up. But I didn't search too far, because then I said, well, shit, it might be on Netflix or something else like that. So I actually looked it up, and it said it was on Netflix. I went on Netflix, and again, for you guys watching, maybe you'll have better luck than me. But I looked on Netflix and I didn't find it, but it is on Amazon. And so I went on to Amazon. It's under I believe it's IFC Films. It's under that, and I have that connected to my Amazon Prime or whatever.
Okay,
So
nice.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so all right. So I would have felt what I don't want is for people to have to spend money,
Oh yeah, no. But I'm gonna
to
tell
do
you
an
what.
episode of the show.
I'm gonna tell you what. As soon as I get a chance to
You're gonna
get
buy it?
this
Yeah,
physically,
yeah,
or even on Vudu or whatever, I'm getting it, man. I'm not
yeah,
even gonna hesitate. That's how good this movie was.
You can find, we've talked about this before. You can find cheap DVDs out there, and
Oh yeah.
I think it kind. There are points of it where I could see, shit, maybe I should have gotten this on Blu-ray for the visuals.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe I'll look at it again because I think I found like a $2 copy or
Hmm.
something, on DVD or something like that. I think I got like a UK copy or something like that, but it
Hmm.
didn't make much of a difference.
Right.
So there's also this question that before she barricades herself in the house,
Hmm.
um, she's approached by her sister.
Mm.
And I feel that the sister asks a very relevant question because the woman is in so much pain. She's been
Hmm.
hospitalized. You find that it's revealed she's been hospitalized. But now her sister's like, come home and stay with us. We'll take care of you, which is the wrong way to phrase it.
Hmm.
She meant well, but she phrased it in a way that set her sister off.
Yep.
But her sister asks this important question. Is this godly?
And yep, that's the one. Yep.
Is this a godly thing to do? People die every day. And she's like, well, if it was your daughter, if it was your child, what would you do? And her sister looks at her and goes, I wouldn't do this.
Hmm.
She's like, I not this. So
Right.
there's an ethical line here. I mean, clearly, that's being crossed where you're way out of bounds here,
Yep.
with this thing.
Absolutely.
But she barricades herself in, and it gets started. And the rituals they're not sadistic or anything, but they're not fun. I mean,
No, not at all.
she's staying in circles, as these things go on for days. He's just chewing her out left and right because she's like, I don't want to do this, or this
Hmm.
stinks, and he's like, I don't care. You're just going to do whatever I tell you to do. We're in
Hmm.
this now, and the things that he wants, should he succeed in doing this, or what did he say? He wanted like invisibility.
Yeah, he wants to be invisible from the world. He wants to have some the way he said it, he wanted to have some quiet before the howl. And I thought that was just such an interesting line. He had some fantastic moments in this. Both actors were fantastic.
Yeah,
And like you said, they're both damaged people, and you could really they felt real. This movie felt real.
yeah.
It was very it
It
was
was
kind of just there in your face. It didn't feel fantastical. It didn't feel like a movie.
no.
And
Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, and I think that that's a credit to the direction and the script, but also these two actors. I think they nailed it. They truly did.
They were not flat characters.
Right.
They were, like you said before, they were extremely complex.
Mm-hmm.
There were some extras on the DVD where the woman character, the lead character, she questioned, "Is there actually a genre for this movie?"
Mm.
Because it's not solely a horror movie. I'm not sure. I'd never seen a movie like this before.
Yeah.
And, there's some supernatural elements, but there's very little special effects.
Mm-hmm.
Very little jump scares. It's not a traditional horror movie.
Right.
So, they're performing these rituals, and, she's, forced to stay in these circles for so long that she's urinating on herself, and
Mm-hmm.
he's dousing her in cold water, and it's just freezing water, and these are just these miserable things that are happening here.
Yeah.
um and the frustration starts to set in, as to whether or not these things are actually working.
Right.
And
Because she
then,
also was deprived from sleep too at
yeah,
different points. Yep.
yeah, days at a time she would have to start it, and then do it again in another circle. So 2 days
Mm-hmm.
with no sleep in one circle, you take maybe a food break or something, and then you'd go back
Yep.
and do the next circle, and then the same thing, and then go back and do the next circle. So that's like a week.
Yep.
That's like a week with no sleep, and the only person that's keeping you going is this guy who's just yelling at you. They start to have some sort of a breakthrough.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, I guess you can assume that this is, that part is real. I mean, did you take that to be?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the exercises and things that she was going through, I took as real. There were some moments where some things were happening, and I think that it might have been more of just just because she was so tired and weak and so forth. I think that there were times that she was seeing things, and they kind of alluded to that, early in a lot of the process. But
Hmm.
then, as other things started to happen, not trying to give away specific spoilers, but then as some other things started to happen, midway through the last third of the movie, then I knew that that was real, at least in this film. What was happening was real, and it just wow, man. Like I said, it was very, very interesting, and it was going in a way that I wasn't expecting. It really was.
Yeah, because then I mean, you and I have talked before
Hmm.
about, people, and, if you're doing these types of reviews, we assume that most people have seen the movie. But,
Right,
we've got two people in the chat now that are saying that they haven't seen it at all. So,
right.
you know, we want to be generous, or, not step on that.
Yeah.
Um, so, again, what we find out is that her rationale has changed, and the real reason, she's been lying.
Yes.
That we find out one
Yes.
of the reasons that they're not having the success that they should be having, and I think they find this a couple of months into it.
Yeah.
Is that her reason for wanting to summon this angel have not been, the things that she said.
Yeah.
Did I say that correctly? I mean,
Yeah.
essentially she's bullshitting.
Yeah.
She gave a bullshit reason for wanting to summon this angel, and then the real reason comes out,
Hmm.
which forces his hand to start to do even more extreme things.
Right. Yeah. At that
Uh,
point in the movie, it's like, oh shit, because
yeah,
he was like, you lied to me, you lied to me, and you could tell on his face he was like super worried because it's basically the type of thing. Whereas, like he said, once we start this ritual, once we seal off the house, we cannot stop. There'll be dire consequences if we do. So they're, like you said, they're deep within this ritual, a couple months in or whatever it's been, and the look on his face is like, oh my God, we've started this for one reason, but that reason was false, and now we gotta fix it.
You
So
have
at
to
that
get
point in the movie, I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, now you have to get back on track because, like he
Hmm.
said, others will hear. It's not,
Yes.
they're starting to realize that they're not alone in this house.
Hmm. Hmm.
Other things are starting to take notice that, this call has been going out. I mean, it's like raising up your window and yelling, out to your neighbor across
Right.
the street. Like I have a neighbor across the street, I see them all the time. They're friends of
Hmm.
mine. But
Hmm.
I also have neighbors to the left of me. I have neighbors to
Hmm.
the right of me, a couple
Hmm.
houses down. So other things are starting to become attracted to what it is that they're doing and trying to figure out who they are,
Mm. Yep.
and that's a frightening thing. They don't know who they are.
Hmm.
They don't know who's going to, things start knocking and things start happening in that house.
Yep.
Hold on, Eric's here again, and Trenchy's like, Banshee, yeah, Banshee is underrated. Yeah,
Hmm.
you got to watch some Banshee, and I think that guy finally made it to The Boys. He's oh God, what's the lead guy in the? Do you watch The Boys?
Oh, I haven't watched it yet, but I know a bit about it.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
he's
but
like the
yeah,
Superman character.
yeah,
The,
yeah,
the lead in Banshee is now the Superman character. He's a
yeah.
monster. Okay, Eric says it's all good for me with minor spoilers. This is a chance you take to watching reviews. No worries. And Trenchy says that's fine. Okay. So, I mean, he has to start to up his game,
Literally.
it includes some water sports.
Yeah, it does.
Some water sports. At one point, I mean, this isn't that much of a giveaway. He actually kills her.
Yes.
He
That
drowned.
scene was crazy.
Yeah. And I had forgotten about it. He actually, because now he has to jumpstart this thing and redirect it
Yes.
and
Yep. He
turn it
said
in
he
the
has to make
proper.
her pure again.
Yeah. And so to do that, he literally kills her. And then, brings her back, and it's upsetting to see.
Yep.
There's nothing necessarily cruel and there's nothing, torture porn about this movie.
Right.
But it's not fun. It's just misery.
It
It's
is.
like watching some sort of like a cult Navy SEAL training or something like that, where they make those guys just do push-ups until they like die.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
You're
like
right.
that,
Hmm.
if you watch those things that are on like Discovery Channel or something like that, and these
Hmm.
guys are just passing out,
Yep.
left and right. It's like that. It's just maybe he's the right taskmaster for that.
Right. Right.
Maybe you can't be nice.
Yeah. Well, there was one thing that I had I had read about when I was trying to figure out where to find it, and of course, fortunately it wasn't a spoiler or anything. But I went back to it afterwards, and they were talking about how this guy, like you said, he is not a nice guy. He is a damaged individual. He's struggling with alcoholism and all these
Yeah,
types
that's
of
right.
things.
Yeah, the
And
DTS.
yeah, and the idea came to mind is like, well, why wouldn't this be the right type of guy to do this? Because he's so damaged, he's so close to that edge, as a human being. And it's actually, kind of, in other words, it kind of makes sense. Whereas if you have a nice, everyday regular person, how would they have that connection to the occult or to that other, quote unquote, that other world? You know what I mean? This guy, his life is so, out of control and so forth. It almost makes sense that he would be the person
Yeah,
to lead.
he's for deeper in that world than the standard world.
Right. Yep.
And I think he understands, like you said, he just wants some peace and quiet for the how. I think he realizes that there are probably going to be consequences for what he's done.
Yes.
He's achieving this experience in this life because he said he wants to know.
Yep.
He doesn't want to believe, he wants to know, he wants to see. But
Yep.
I get the distinct impression that he realizes that, when he passes from this plane, he's probably not going to a good place.
Mm-hmm.
So that would make, the average person sour right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just knowing you're not, this isn't going to pan out. You're not going to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
These sorts of things. And he says that, he goes, most people are damned,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, so I mean, I, I could get into the sex magic, but maybe we shouldn't. The guys are still watching the show, and I want them to be able to watch that.
Yes.
I
Yes.
want. Well, I don't. That's not what I mean, but you know what I mean. I want them to
Yes.
be able. You don't want to spoil it for everybody, but
Right.
eventually we start to get to the point where it takes a severe turn, and what happens over time. I think he sort of lords it over her, but over time, I think they develop a bit of a softening.
Yeah. It seemed to be that way. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then to me, what seems to happen is that the roles almost sort of reverse.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
She sort of takes the lead.
Yep.
She ends up taking the lead and becoming, the person that's setting the tone,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak, because
Watching over him and everything.
yeah, yeah. And then, um, by the time we get to the end, it's gone to such a profoundly dark place
Mm-hmm.
because she does get to hear her son's voice again, but
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't at the same
Yes.
time. It's a
Right.
cruel sort of play, that
Yep.
happens to her. Um,
Yep.
it's her son's voice, but it's not her son's voice.
Right. Yeah.
So
She played that scene great too.
yeah, and like so many things in life, what you get the thing. Sometimes you can get the exact thing that you want, but it's never exactly um, the way that you pictured it.
Right.
And so
Absolutely.
it's very bittersweet.
Mm-hmm.
This is I think. Well, I don't remember what was the first movie that we covered. Oh, The Ritual.
The ritual.
Um,
Yep.
it's a humorless movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much to laugh at here. Again, though, because of fantastic writing, fantastic performances and directing, they don't need jump scares.
No.
They don't need CGI.
Nope.
They don't need. There's a very, very, very little. There's some at the end.
Mm-hmm.
At the end, there's some CGI at the end where she gets to the end of the line, and then her motives change again. And
Yeah.
I think her motives change without her realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
That was not her intention to have, it end the way that it ended.
Right.
But I just think after so many months, and so much pain, and so much, sadness,
Mm-hmm.
and heartbreak, and just the struggle to, keep your sanity,
Mm-hmm.
which it's a these were profoundly damaged people, but they were also very strong.
Oh, absolutely. And he kept saying that throughout the rituals, you need to be strong, you need to have your steel, and all those types of things. And it was like, whew, wow, man, the stuff that she was going through, it was rough. I mean, it
Yeah.
really was. You know,
Well,
it was horrific in the sense that because her performance, I think the actress's name is Catherine Walker, I think.
okay.
I could be wrong on that, but she was fantastic. But she was so good in the performance, you were interested in her. I was intrigued by her, and I wanted to. I don't want to say I was rooting for her per se, but I was just very interested. So as she went through these trials, so to speak, the horror in it was seeing her going through it and trying to persevere, and succeeding sometimes barely and failing other times. And it's just like, oh my gosh, this poor woman,
Any of the rationales that she presented were authentic enough for you to become invested in
Hmm.
that.
Yes.
Whether it's the death of her son, she wants to speak to her son again. When
Hmm.
she flips again the second time, months into it, and says, that's not really what I want. What I want is something else entirely. And then at
Hmm.
the end, when the rationale, I mean, these are all legitimate rationales. And at
Hmm.
first, I thought that Mr. Solomon's requests were a little juvenile,
Yep.
by comparison. You know, um,
Hmm.
you know, and that was kind of a little foreshadowing for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, because I don't know, I don't dabble in the occult at all. I read a couple of books here and there, Stephen King, that kind of
Right.
stuff. That's about as far as my investment and that sort of thing is. But it just seemed like, really, that's
Yeah.
what you want.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, you could be asking for something a little more deeply rooted,
Hmm.
but it didn't occur to him, and maybe because he was so damaged that
Yeah.
he just sort of gave up his own you know
Yep.
whatever you
Absolutely.
want to call it. So, I mean, there were some extras here, where they talked about favorite movies for each of the actors, the directors, and I just thought, let's see, came up with. You ever heard of a movie called Martyrs?
Yes.
Okay, that was one of their favorites. Um, a lot of them weren't even horror fans. Of
Hmm.
course, The Exorcist. It
Hmm.
was really odd that the movies that they sort of picked off, The Omen. There was Polanski's Repulsion, which is this claustrophobic tale about being, trapped in an apartment. I mean, these
Yes.
were all these people's favorites before they came to this movie, and then they
Hmm.
make a movie that sort of represents
Those
all of their
things.
favorites. The
Yeah.
Shining.
Yep.
It's like, people don't even like horror movies. I don't even like horror movies, but everybody likes The Shining.
Yes. Yep.
So all of their favorite sort of horror movies, if they had to pick one, were these movies. And when you sort of put them together, you have this film. I
Yeah.
thought that was kind
Absolutely.
of cool. I think it means that they got the right people to play
Yeah.
these roles.
I agree. And
You know,
like I said, right from the beginning, once this thing started to go down the road, those are the types of movies that started to kind of flood my mind. Movies like Repulsion, movies
yeah.
like The Shining, Rosemary's Baby,
Oof,
to a lesser degree maybe, but
yeah.
movies where you're put in this situation, you're put in this particular world, and things are happening, and you really have to, like you said, you've got to watch this and not have distraction. You're going on a ride, and the script work is so good that you're just going with the ride, and it's not over the top, it's not fantastical, even though the story has some things that are fantastical in nature, so to speak, but
Yeah,
very well done.
the elements are cosmic, but it's not pretentious at all.
Hmm.
Coming in at just over 90 minutes, the script is extremely lean.
Yes.
I didn't see any fat to speak of
Hmm.
on there to strip away, and
Agreed.
it's just a success. I sent a tweet to Liam Gavin saying we will be doing this tonight, and the off
Nice.
chance perhaps he'd like to stop in for 5 minutes, but of course that didn't happen. But I don't know that he's got that many. He doesn't seem to have any huge projects on them, so maybe he'll just keep making cool, small projects like that for us to enjoy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, these are the types of movies. I mean, unfortunately, like you said, this one was way under the radar.
Yeah.
Hopefully, there'll be a time when someone, with some capability to put some big shine on it will come along, which has happened before with movies in the past.
Yeah, or unfortunately, American studios will get a hold of it and try to make an American version.
Oh, I hope
And
not.
they'll have like Jennifer Aniston in it or something like that. And then I'll literally my next show will be stabbing myself in the eye. With that'll be the show because
Right, right.
you'll get something like Wreck, but they'll make Quarantine.
Yes, you know.
So that kind of thing does happen. I think one of the things that works against it, unfortunately, it's not an American movie because
Yeah.
everybody knows the autopsy of Jane Doe.
Yes.
But I think this was better than the autopsy of Jane Doe. Much more complex story. Although I love the autopsy of Jane Doe, it's a
Yeah.
great movie, but this was better. Hold on,
Yeah.
we got some comments here. Eric, he's still here with us. CGI and horror is okay if used well. Won't keep me away from a movie, but it could definitely take me out of it. It Chapter 2. Jesus Christ Almighty, why'd they do that? And the Thing prequel, for examples. Martyrs. It's tough watch. If you watch the original Foreign, tough but great. I think that's one of those torture porn movies, isn't it, or something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
has.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I understand the premise. I think
Yeah.
and yeah, I'm not. Yeah, it's not my thing. Okay, but that's not going to stop Trenchy. You still got to see
No, it won't.
it.
Trenchy goes all the way.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Okay,
Uh,
and yeah, but he's not a fan of the damn American movies. So, all
that's
right, so
right.
be it. So be it. So, I mean, it's just a good movie, and
It is. It is.
hopefully, we could get this out to some people, and they'll have a chance to see it. We've got two right here that don't seem
Hmm.
to have, so that's fine for me.
Yeah. This is absolutely one of those movies that's going to be on my list as hidden gems. And it would not surprise me if some point if I don't do, something or some episode that at least mentions it to just throw out to folks to say, hey, there are a lot of hidden gems, and we all know that.
Right.
But this is one of those hidden gems that I think is such a fantastic movie. It's so well done, and it's different. I mean, how can you
The
beat that? I
the
mean,
premise is, yeah,
movies are so, there's so many movies that kind of retread the same thing, and that's just the nature of creativity. But when you have a movie like this that actually goes into a little bit of a different angle and gives you some fresh stuff, I mean, that's just like I said, when I finished the movie, I was like, wow, that's great.
yeah, and
It's just great.
when you take the time to develop characters that way, you wish
Hmm.
everyone would do it.
Yes. Yes.
So, all right. Well, I mean, you got anything else you want to add before we sign off? I think we covered it pretty well. We didn't get
Yeah.
into the spoilers. Hold on, I think we got one more comment here. Hold on. Oh, Eric says great stream, guys. So thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Um, the last stream that I did last week, I think I was saying I found out my internet speed wasn't fast enough, so I just like tripled the speed, and yeah, so we're good to go
Nice.
now. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
getting used to this new format.
Yeah.
It's another format now, so I've got some. I'm trying to increase content and then get better at it quicker.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. It's a process, but
Yeah.
you'll get there. I mean, look, you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I already am there. I'm
Hmm.
already doing it. So it'd be different if I was, doing some sort of thing I wasn't interested in. But I could sit here and talk movies all day. So yeah,
Right. And that's
it's
the
all
beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. When you have something that you're passionate about, that's all that really matters in the end,
yeah.
you know?
You always come back to it in the end.
Yep.
All right, man. So
All right.
thank you once again, and I appreciate it. And
I appreciate it too.
yeah. We'll catch up soon. We got some more shows coming up,
Yes,
and
we do.
yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. That's gonna be a lot of
Yes.
fun. But for now, that's it for me, and that's it for Mr. Nightwatch. Oh, tell them where they can find you. Oh, they already know, but there are people who might catch. Well, there are people who might catch the replay, and
Yeah.
I want to. If you catch the replay, leave a comment. And Nightwatch, tell them where they can find your content, please.
Yeah, on YouTube, my channel is NightWatch Zone, and I'm also on Twitter under NightWatch_1. And yeah, I'm around.
Yeah, he's around. And American Werewolf in New Jersey, you can find me on YouTube here. You can find me on Google Podcasts, and you can find me on Spotify. I'm also in Instagram, but it's just updates for the show.
Mm.
All right, that's it for this episode, and we'll be back on Friday, and we're going to be covering with Eric. That's going to be cool.
Nice.
My first collab with Eric. We're going to be going at it with a double feature for Rob Zombie's Halloween Saga. So we're going
Yeah.
to be going ballistic with Tyler Main about that
Nice.
one. All
That'd be
right,
awesome.
guys, you take care and peace.